Ever wondered how play can actually transform a child's life? Today, we're sitting down with Nick Sidwell, a pediatric occupational therapist and founder of Ability Innovations, who's made it his mission to put play at the heart of therapy. Nick shares his journey into pediatric OT, the real world challenges of running a practice, and why educating both families and healthcare pros about pediatric therapy matters now more than ever. If you're curious about the power of play, want practical tips for families, or are thinking about starting your own healthcare venture, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Today, we are sitting with Nick Sidwell, pediatric occupational therapist and owner of Ability Innovations. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here, man. Appreciate your time. All right. So I'm gonna jump right into this. I would love to hear your background and like what inspired you to work in pediatric therapy.
Yeah, I feel like I've always had a knack for it. I've always, loved playing and interacting with kids. And then, people with disabilities, for example, my sister has cerebral palsy. And so I was always going to her therapy sessions and seeing what they did all throughout my childhood. I was in her classroom a lot helping. And I feel like I just kind of got a taste for that from really young, and it just felt familiar and easy to do as I got older. And that's where the focus of all of my education kind of went. And when I got out of school, it was just an easy transition right into pediatrics.
Okay, so early on, super early on, and just the
Yeah.
things that you got to see go through, and it just stayed in your mind of like kind of pave the path. All right,
Yeah.
so
Like this is something noble.
cool. Okay, what does a typical day look like in your practice?
Yeah, I split my time between administrative tasks and actually seeing kids as well. I have my own caseload and it's kind of fun. The days that I'm really treating a lot of kids, I mean, it's so exciting because I basically get paid to throw paper airplanes and play video games and play the floor is lava and all these activities that are really attuned to kids. And then when I go and do my admin stuff, I'm helping people that work with us. I'm helping them, and I'm interacting with parents and people that influence our field. And so I get this wide breadth of interactions that I get to do with other people. And it really fuels me both ways. I mean, I feel like I need to work with kids. And so I can't ever just let that go. But I also get a lot of fulfillment just working with all the people that I interact with on the admin side as well. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I imagine through there you can kind of like understand what any challenges that they're currently having or something, and then you're right there to like, okay, I like you might have an
Yeah.
answer right away, or let me think about that. Let me see how I can work, maybe solve this, or I could, because they're
Yeah.
going through
And
it, and you're there.
there's so many things that come up, like one day I could be talking with a banker and they're really diving deep into what we do to see if we match for funding. And the next day I'm talking to a family and they're talking about how they just need to get their services provided and they can't seem to get that message through to their insurance company. And so there's so many different dynamics of how I'm engaging with people, and it's interesting every day. I love it. So it's pretty
Excellent.
cool.
How long has your practice been around?
I opened my practice back in 2013,
Okay.
but our actual clinic has only been open since 2020. And, everybody asks, well, how did that go through COVID? And yeah, we got shut down for a while, but we came back better and stronger. And I think that we're such a resource for those families that really needed services. And so as soon as we could open back up, we just hit it like gangbusters. So it's been really quite the ride for our clinic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, like some days or whatever, probably every day, maybe you're making paper airplanes and you're playing with the kids. And tell me about this therapy that's play based. Like, can you explain it, what that means, and how or why it's so effective for children?
Yeah. I came from working in school districts as an occupational therapist. And I was just doing the same thing. And we're kind of taught this in school, that you take a kid and you sit them down and you work with them on specific activities. And, if they're interacting really well, like the reward at the end is always like, okay, if you do this, you get to play with this. And I brought
Mhm.
this for you. You can check it out. And I feel like I just wasn't getting the amount of interaction that I really needed from these patients and these clients that were coming in. And I was like, what is missing? And so as I started to research, I realized, well, I'm doing it backwards. I'm completely doing it backwards. And I didn't even realize. And I need to have play be the center and the method, the vehicle of my therapy. And so I started researching really heavily into how to infuse play throughout the therapy that we do. And as occupational therapists, we know that play is the main occupation. It's the main thing that children engage in. And it's how they learn. It's what motivates them to increase their skills and do what they're doing in their daily lives. And we see that through even the animal kingdom. Like you see cubs and pups like play fighting and jumping around and trying things out as play. And I stopped and thought, why am I not doing that? Why isn't anybody else doing this? Like, why is therapy not attuned to how kids learn? And so I flipped everything upside down in my clinic and I started teaching people to do play based therapy. I know there's a lot of mental health therapists that do play therapy. And so we couldn't call it that because it's different. There's a lot of research that talks about how to do that. And we've implemented a lot of that evidence base and that research to really be authentic to kids and make sure that we're developmental and that we're able to interact on the level that's individualized for them, but also get them going with things that are so motivating and so relationship building with them, so that we can really start to see progress once we have all of that and all of the pieces come together. And it's really fun. So I say, like, yeah, I get to throw paper airplanes and do that with kids, but there's so much therapeutic value to what we're doing. And when I stop and explain that to like parents and families, they're like, oh, I can see how this is working. How do I do this at home? And we start to teach families that kind of stuff. And it's really powerful. And when I network with other clinics like mine across the states or things like that, uh, I really sing that at the top of the rooftops. Like, you need to be authentic to children. If you're working with children, you need to do what they are naturally doing, which is play. And so if you're sitting at a table trying to work with a child, it's least effective.
Or it's
So
like
that's,
even go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, No, just thinking of like if you're standing over a kid, it's like this tall and you're like standing over it. It's like
Yeah.
maybe you come down to the
Intimidating.
kid's level. Yeah, come down
Yeah.
to the yeah. Okay.
And I mean, it takes a certain kind of person too. Like, we can't just like be our typical adult selves. Like, we have to get into their world. We have to
Um,
engage with them, how they engage with people. And, like, we go outside and we find a stick and it becomes a sword or a wand. And we're doing that with the child. But then as a therapist, I'm shaping that into what the goal areas and the things that kids need to work on, or this particular kid needs to work on. So it takes a certain skill level to do, but once you get the hang of it, it's so powerful and so empowering to that child.
so what, thinking of like the services and what's your like core service that you offer in the clinic?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of different therapies. I mean, the core therapies that we do are occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and we do a lot of feeding therapy too. That's one that I didn't anticipate that we would do a lot of, but there's a lot of kids out there that really struggle with feeding. Like, they are so restrictive in their diets that they're starting to lose weight, or their health is sacrificed by how picky they are. And so we have programs that really work on how to help kids through that and get them, more healthy and being able to interact with food on a more typical level so that they can get what they need.
Yeah, that's
And
important.
yeah, I feel like all of these therapies together, all in one place, really helps the families that we work with too, because families, when they've got kids with disabilities, they're bouncing all over the place, right? Like they're going here and there. And I mean, it takes soccer momming. I think that's the phrase that a lot of people use. It takes that to a whole different level. So when they can come to one clinic that has all of it, they're like, thank heavens.
You've
So
answered everything.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's great. And we don't have everything, right? But we offer enough in one place. And we've got families that, they've got several kids in services and they're all doing different services while they're here. And so they're like, we're here for maybe 2 hours, but at the same time, like I can get all of it done in one place. It's great.
So in terms of like challenges that you're facing in their practice, I think it's reimbursement rates and staffing. Can you talk more on that?
Yeah, the insurance is kind of a tricky thing. Like I came out of school after I had learned about how insurance payers work and how we get reimbursements from them. And I was thinking, I don't ever want to work with insurance companies. Like, and I say this lovingly, not really, but they're the worst. Insurance is so hard to interact with from the parent side and also from the clinic side. But we have a lot of insurance companies now, and the trick with a lot of them is that they don't understand the model that we operate in when we're working with kids. A lot of people see therapy like mine when we're talking about physical therapy and occupational therapy. They see it as rehab, is kind of the going term. It's rehabilitation. And yet when we're working with kids, it's actually habilitation is the term. They're learning these things for the first time. And even insurance companies don't really know what to do with that. Like they've heard the term, but they don't really understand it. And so when an insurance company says, okay, you have 20 visits for the year and you've got to share them between occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy, like that's going to run out within a month or two if they're doing all of those therapy services. And they're not, when we talk to an insurance company, they're like, well, that should be all that they need for a year. And the idea is, yes, maybe they need that if they had some kind of injury and they're just getting back to what they used to be able to do. But that's not what we're doing here. It takes time to build even like the brain cells to do a certain activity. Like they're learning this for the first time. And so there's not even like these connections through through their brain. And we have to build those. It takes repeated input to build those kinds of things. And insurance companies they don't understand that. And so it's been a struggle to fight with insurance companies about, hey, this kid needs more services. And sometimes the insurance company's like, nope, it's a hard cap on how many sessions that they'll allow. And then insurance companies also dictate like all these things that we can or can't do. And the thing that really aches my heart the most is that insurance companies are the ones that are saying, yes, this kid gets services, or no, this kid doesn't. And yes, you can have services, but you can only do it this way. And I just don't feel like insurance companies should be able to dictate those things. Those are like diagnosing or determining factors for how we interact with people with disabilities or people that are struggling with something. And those things should come from professionals that have training in those areas, not from insurance companies. But yet they're able to dictate all of those things. And it really throttles a lot of families. I talk to families that after their therapy sessions run out, they're having to pay out of pocket. And it turns into tens of thousands of dollars each year. And
Oof.
on average, I think families pay like at least $10,000 more than a family with a typical developing child. They pay $10,000 more for every child. And some of these families have several children. And so you think like in a typical year, a family is paying 10, 20, $30,000 more than a regular run of the mill family just to get their kids services. And it's kind of this big oversight that I think our country is really struggling with, that
Yes.
we need to treat these families better. I don't think that families should be having to pay so much.
Yeah, that's a massive impact. And yeah, there's definitely policy change that needs to happen. Man, I hope we can get this message out there for better
I hope so
change.
too. It's just
Yes.
heartbreaking. Once you meet these families and these kids, you're like, this kid still needs so much help and they're not able to get it because of insurance companies.
Especially when you see like their improvement, I bet, and then you're like, wait, we gotta stop, or you
Yeah.
gotta, or you have to pay out of the pocket in your pocket. Oh,
And they're like, we can't do that. Like I've had families that, and we try and help as a caveat. We try and help as much as we possibly can. We run like fundraisers and we get donations. We steer families towards like programs that will help support them financially, like programs that will like donate money to families that need services and all those kinds of things. But in the end of the day, like there's several families that like they have to sell their car to pay for therapy. Like we've had that
yeah.
happen before, and it's sad to see.
Switching gears a little bit, thinking about educational sort of outreach, like how do you educate your sorry, tongue twister, pediatricians and other
Pediatricians,
healthcare,
yeah.
yeah, and other like healthcare professionals about the importance of this therapy and the services
Yeah.
that you provide?
Well, and we've definitely had to talk to a few pediatricians and things like even our own pediatrician. He's wonderful. We love him, but there was one interaction where we're sitting with my daughter. She's getting her yearly checkup and he's asking about the clinics and how that's all going. And we're like, yeah, we see a lot of kids with autism, and we're getting a lot of kids with autism in with occupational therapy. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't know that occupational therapists work with kids with autism." And we're like, oh no, we've had this huge blind spot. So we started talking to him more about what kinds of things that we do in our clinic and what kind of services, what kind of like clients and patients that we see and what kind of diagnoses. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to refer everybody to you. And we've been in discussions. We've had panels and things that we do to help professionals understand what we do and doctors. And we also have a podcast that we do. It's called Therapy Unmasked, and we send that out to everybody. I hope that doctors, and we've had people all over the world check it out, but I hope that doctors and stuff are looking at those. I hope that we're able to get some of these messages out there that, we need to help these families. And that's something that I feel very passionate about. But sometimes it is just a little bit of education on that wise to help people that are really they have that determining power. So maybe insurance companies, but definitely doctors to say like, hey, there's more out there for these kids and there's lots of options for them. So we love
Yeah,
to try and be that source.
yeah, and then just building those partnerships too. And I love that you're educating them, but also the more they become aware that they're able to document and that there's a need and there's this constant need and what they're doing and trying to refer you, hopefully with that data and just the proof, that there is this
Definitely.
demand and we don't have enough and we need to be able to do more.
And there's all
Okay.
these little pieces too, like we have our therapists every month, they're writing blog posts and they actually write them, like it's our
Okay.
therapists that are actually writing them. And it's interesting that you can go to AI now and AI can spit out this whole document, but we actually have professionals that are writing posts about all the little things that we do, like how to teach your kid to ride a bike, or what kinds of things can you do to help a kid that is walking on their toes all the time and they never put their heels down, or just small little skills like, I'm sorry if I'm throwing out all these weird terms, but what if a kid is really struggling with proprioception and they just need help in that area? And so we educate a little bit through those blogs. And then we also advocate like, these are things that you need to work on, not just at home, but maybe go and see a professional about. So there's
Okay.
lots of opportunities to educate. I even think that your listeners, they they can be part of that and help educate people, because the more education that goes out there and the more understanding that is spread across all people, the better we become as a whole, as a human race, I think.
Okay. So you've got people that come in that need your assistance. What about those that can't come into you? Like what do you have? What do you have for them?
Yeah, we have been developing programs that help families at home. And it kind of spawned from, had huge waiting lists, and we've been getting through those waiting lists, but I think that's common for every clinic like mine. But these waiting lists would get so long and people would be on there for months and months. And we're like, we got to help these people. Like they're just sitting in limbo land waiting for something to happen. So we created some programs. There's some online courses and trainings that we've recorded. And we have our therapists come in and teach like quick tips and tricks for families to do at home with their kids, or
Right.
things that they might want to try and consider at home that will help them engage with their kids like a therapist would. And they're generalities, but at the same time, it's empowering to help families start the process and get things going. And then we can pick up the slack when they finally get in with us. Or what we found is a lot of families, like they may not have the opportunity, like they're living in some small town or something like that where they can't access therapy that they need, and so they can buy these courses, or they can visit our site and get this free content, and they can start doing these things at home. And I feel like that helps a lot of families. We've had hits on some of those things from all over the world, from Australia to like India and Ethiopia. We've had some, and I just think like, hopefully I can envision that there are families out there like, "Oh, I can do this in my own home. I can start doing these kinds of activities or interacting with my kid this way." And maybe that bridges some gaps and helps
Yeah.
some kids out, helps them develop a little bit better. And
Make a
we hope
difference.
that this kind of stuff just keeps going.
Okay. All right. This has been great. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs, in the healthcare field, especially those starting their own practices?
I call it the Nike method. Just do it. Like you can sit and think as an entrepreneur, you can sit and think like, I want to make sure that I get all my ducks in a row, that I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And you never take that step into actually doing. And so that's always my first advice is like, just start something. Nobody knows how to do it right off the bat. I didn't know how to do it. Like I, I'm not the expert on how to open a clinic, or we now have 3 clinics that are underneath us, and I don't I don't pretend to know what I'm doing all the time. A lot of things I'm learning along the way, and you just have to start doing it and then get that process going, and then you'll put pieces in as you go. That's the secret to all of it, is just do something. And then some of the other resources that we've really drawn heavily on are here in the States. They have the small business development, or the Small Business Association, that runs these small business development centers. All, like almost every large city has them. And if you go into them, like our taxpayer dollars already pay for that. So it's free services, and I get all kinds of help with all the technical stuff or all the HR kinds of things, or even just like I need to do some research on marketing and how our marketing efforts might be better. And they have connections with everybody and have helped me build huge marketing reports and helps our data to drive what we're doing. So, and it's all free. And we've had some really, really great leaps and bounds from that, from the small business development centers. So
Yeah,
things like that.
it's definitely a great resource. It's reminds me of kind of like going to like the BNIs or your local chamber of commerce. It's like they're almost, they're all connected. They've gone through it. They know those people, and these people know those people, and then they're like, oh, you need this. Yeah, and it's just like I know exactly who does that. So it's
And
definitely a
it's always
great
like,
resource.
I mean, we're supposed to network. That's how you get everything
That,
done. But they're like,
yeah,
"Ooh, let me introduce you to so and so." And
yeah,
those kind of connections have always been valuable. So it's pretty
100%.
pretty neat.
Well, this has been super insightful. I really appreciate your time here. Tell the audience how they can reach you.
Yeah, definitely. We have our website, which is abilityinnovations.com. And you can come. There's lots of resources on there. You can see what we're doing. You can see what our clinics look like. You can always reach out to me if you have specific questions. It's Nick, Nick, at abilityinnovations.com. And then also check out like our podcasts on therapyunmasked.com.
Definitely check that out. All right. Thank you.